Hola, aventureros. Welcome to your Spanish Roadmap. I'm Lucia, your travel companion through the Spanish language. And today we're going to uncover the mystery of Noun Genders. This video is part of the Fundamental series, and we're going to study absolutely everything you need to know from noun genders, adjectives, and all definite and indefinite articles. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you will do by the end of the video. Remember, there is a free guidebook that accompanies this fundamental series and a really cool vocabulary builder, both for free in the link below. Vale, I'm sure you know Spanish is a gendered language. What does that mean? Well, that every noun has a gender. It can be masculine, feminine, or it can include both. This can often feel a little bit strange for English speakers, as in English, the gendered is inherent within the noun, inherent in what the word actually represents. It directly refers to male or female individuals, like boy or girl, king or queen. You see what I mean? But in Spanish, all nouns are gendered, and it has nothing to do with how masculine or feminine we believe the word to be. For example, let's take the word beard. We could argue that this is predominantly a male thing, but in Spanish, it's female because it ends in a, barba. Let's take, for example, the noun vestido. Vestido is the Spanish word for dress. Dress is something that we could tend to associate with women, but in Spanish, it's a masculine noun because it ends in O, el vestido. And that's pretty much the general rule. If it ends in A, it's a feminine noun. If it ends in O, it's a masculine noun. But with our rules, there are exceptions. And there are also nouns that don't end with an A or with an O. But we will have a look at them later. But for now, let's see why gendered is so important in Spanish. It is important to identify because the gender of the noun is going to make changes in other words within the sentence. Let me give you this example in Spanish. The boy is tall. El niño es alto. The girl is tall. La niña es alta. You see, the gender of the noun changes the article and the adjective within the sentence. Articles in English are the words for the or a. In Spanish, we have definite and indefinite articles. Let's have a look first at the definite articles. We have el for masculine singular, la for feminine singular, los for masculine plural, and las for feminine plural. So let me give you some examples. The word for book in Spanish is libro. We know it's masculine because it ends in O. Then we would have el libro. If we want to make it plural, we would say libros. We would add an S. Then we need to change the article too, los libros. We're also going to do this with feminine nouns. For example, the Spanish word for door is puerta. In singular, la puerta, the door. And in plural, las puertas. So as you can see, the article changes depending on gender and quantity. So to sum up, we will have in the masculine, el if it's singular, and los if it's plural. And in the feminine, la if it's one thing, or las if it's more than one. Then we have the indefinite articles. Basically, the Spanish word for a cat or a dog. So we have the masculine, unos, depending on quantity again. So a cat would be un gato. But unos gatos actually translates as a few cats or some cats. And then the feminine, una if it's singular, and unas if it's plural. So if we want to say a house would be una casa. A few houses or some houses would be unas casas. So just like the article has to match the noun, so does the adjective. Like in our previous examples. El niño es alto. La niña es alta. The adjective, in this case alto, has to change its ending to match the noun. But in Spanish, not all adjectives are going to end in A or O. Just like interesante, grande, feliz. In that case, just leave it like that. No changes necessary. As easy as that. But then that leaves us with the question, what about nouns that don't end either in A or O? How do we know that they are masculine or feminine? Well, sometimes we know the gender of the noun by the article that is placed in front of it. For example, take the word estudiante, student. If we say el estudiante, it's a masculine noun. If we say la estudiante, it's a feminine noun. So we see that the chosen article is going to change the gender of the noun. But also remember that if you add an adjective, the adjective also has to match the gender of the noun. For example, the student is smart would be el estudiante es listo or la estudiante es lista. In the first sentence, we're talking about a male student. In the second sentence, we're talking about a female student. And we can see how the article and the adjective changes because of the gender of the noun. But what about nouns that are not gender flexible and they can only take la or el? How do we know? For example, ciudad, city. How do you know if it's el or la? Well, there are certain nouns endings that belong to masculine or feminine. In this case, ciudad ends in dad, as so do la universidad, la verdad, la actividad, and so on. Now, let me give you a list of word endings and their gender so you can hear the sound. Remember that below you have a link with all of this information in a beautiful guidebook that I put together for you. Vale, so the most common feminine endings are as follows. Dad, tad, ion, ie, ia, es, esa, encia, like emergencia. And for the masculine are age, hambre, ate, ete, ote, and miento, like pimiento. There are a few nouns that end in ema or ama and are masculine nouns. This is because they have a Greek origin. There are also some irregulars, like for example, the word water, agua. Agua ends in a, and you may think, well, it's feminine, but it would be really weird and awkward to say la agua. It's all together, la agua. It's el agua. However, the adjective is going to be feminine, okay? So it will be the cold water, it will be el agua fría. And then there are also words like el día, la mano, la radio that don't follow any rule. The truth is that there are not a lot of irregulars and special cases, and the ones that you need to know are in the course guidebook. I know it sounds like a lot initially, but really, start expressing yourself in the language and you will intuitively get the patterns. You will start to feel it. That's my advice. Learn through expressing yourself. Let me know if you like this. I'm going to be making a lot more useful content for students that are learning my beautiful language. So, subscribe and I will be your travel companion through the Spanish language. Muy bien, nos vemos pronto. I'll see you soon. Hasta luego.